Good evening, Rink Rats and Blackhawk fans worldwide. Welcome back. It's been about 10 days. Welcome, Season 7, Episode 16 of our Chicago Blackhawks Rinkcast. No points for second place from the bottom, where the Blackhawks are headed right now. Hey, everybody, we got a star-studded cast, so you know most of these folks. Sean Fitzgerald is repping a hat for the, how many days?
I believe this is day 87.
Day 87 on his Instagram hat tour or thing. Or what do you got tonight?
Tonight is the Stadium Series Blackhawks hat when they played at Soldier Field in, I believe it was 2014.
Oh,
it was,
Yep.
LA, New York, and Chicago. Or 2014, yeah.
So it was 10 years ago this month. Wow.
Yeah, it was March. It was like March, the first week in March. It snowed like crazy. Jonathan Taves had a hat trick. Called out Sidney Crosby for flopping. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Great experience.
Cool. Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares.
My dad did. He was there. So.
That one I care about. And content editor of the Rink, Eric Andrews, and card connoisseur. How are we doing tonight, buddy? How are things?
Doing better than those up in Minnesota.
Correct. Jeff
Spoiler
alert. Spoiler alert. We're going to get into that Calder race, folks. Jeff Osborn, the gatekeeper, is also here, co-founder of the Rink, and he's got something for us right away. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I figured, if I'm going to come back here and we're going to start a fight early, I might as well start with this clip.
Let's go. Hit it.
Here is how I know that all the Brock Faber arguments, and the people making them know it's bullshit. Connor Bedard's a minus 37. I'm going to hit you with this one, man. Shut the fuck up. That's ridiculous to say that shit. It's so stupid. And you know it's stupid because you only use plus minus when you know the argument is bullshit.
And that is from the Puck Soup podcast. Ryan Lambert, basically laying out the whole argument as far as the Calder race goes.
Yep. That's pretty true. A very antiquated stat that a lot of people want to get rid of, and it is the sole argument for Brock Faber for the race for the Calder. So we talk about everyone knows what we tweet about. Everyone knows what we're following. The only thing that is fun about following the Blackhawks this year is Connor Bedard is the lead candidate for the Calder right now, but it has gotten hotly contested with him and with Brock Faber, the Minnesota Wild defenseman. Someone feels very passionately about this within our core group here. And I do say our core because if we did contract extensions, if we had that kind of wealth, Eric would get an 8-year term. Eric, talk to us. Calder, what's the latest? How do you feel? Is this close? Is it close at all? Is it getting closer? I know I try to be neutral. A lot of people don't like me for that. Fair. What do you have to say?
I mean, I think like we've been saying for quite a while that it is a 2-horse race in the sense those are the only two guys that it's even plausible to be in the conversation. And, I think another thing that we've said for quite a while is if this was a standard year, then yeah, Brock Faber probably has a pretty good chance at winning the award, but it's not a normal year, and that is okay. So yeah, I mean, I think what Bedard has done speaks for itself, and obviously people are going to point to his defensive numbers and all of that. Though, of course, when you actually unpack that further, the Blackhawks are, I believe, minus 95 as a team right now.
Yeah.
And if you factor that Bedard has played a third of those minutes, which he's averaging just under 20 minutes a night right now, then he should statistically be in the minus 30s. So it's not like he's, a minus 70 or something.
Right.
Now, of course, no, being in the minus 30s isn't ideal, but again, it's not a huge problem either. So yeah, we don't need to unpack.
When they default to plus minus, they do it to discredit another player. They don't do it for the accolades of their own. It's not like plus 5 Brock Faber. It's not like plus 5 is plus 50.
Right.
It's
yeah. I mean,
5. I mean, it's nice. Like, great. 5 more even strength goals that you've been on the ice for as a defenseman. Yeah, you're doing your job. You're doing a good thing. But I don't know. And now Luke Hughes is level in points with Brock Faber. Will end up passing him and will have more goals and more assists than Brock Faber. So I don't even know in the voting I mean, we still got games to go. We still got a couple weeks to go.
Are Minnesota fans going to jump on the Luke Hughes bandwagon just because they hate us?
No, because Luke Hughes is minus something, minus 16 or whatever that was.
You know, something that has not been brought up yet, and it's a really good it's a good stat to kind of tell you how what the difference is between Brock Faber and Connor Bedard, on the ice. Their on ice performance.
Yeah.
Everyone says he doesn't play any defense. Bedard doesn't play any defense or anything. But if you look at the 5-on-5 on ice save percentage for each player, and you watch Connor Bedard's the save percentage that he's getting when he's out on the ice is .882, which is 540th out of 554 players in the NHL.
Where did you find that?
Natural stat trick.
Natural stat trick.
Yeah, and if you look at Brock Faber's 5-on-5 on ice save percentage, what the save percentage is when he's on the ice, he's getting 908. So he's getting about league average, actually better than league average goaltending when he's on the ice. So Connor Bedard is getting far below league average, like basically league worst goaltending when he's on the ice.
So Marc-Andre Fleury is better than Arvid Soderblom. Got it. Okay.
I know Arvid Soderblom is actually ranked the worst goaltender in goals against average and save percentage in the NHL.
And he's played
only worse is Jack Campbell, but he didn't play enough games to qualify.
Is he really? Wow.
Yeah. I looked it up the other day when I was arguing with Eric in the chat about Stauber, just to see how bad Soderblom was. But he is the worst goalie in the NHL. And let's not forget, like, everybody's team loads up their best defensive pairing against Connor Bedard because it's the only line they have to worry about against the Blackhawks. Brock Faber's not seeing everybody's top line. I believe Eric pointed it out that Alex Vlasic of the Blackhawks plays tougher minutes per offensive player or whatever that stat was per night than Brock Faber does. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't.
And Gates brought it up. I believe his defensive partner, whose name is escaping me,
Jonas Brodin.
Jonas Brodin just got hurt, and Jonas Brodin is a top defensive defenseman in the NHL. Mm-hmm. So they've been sheltering Brock Faber on the ice. So I get it.
It's like putting a rookie out there with Nicholas Hjalmarsson,
right,
and then seeing, hey, is this guy going to do pretty good? Well, if Hjalmarsson can go out there and block all the shots and make all the defensive plays, he's going to make a rookie look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there is a 21-win rookie goalie. Samuel Ersson in Philadelphia has 21 wins. And no one's talking about him. Now, his save percentage is below 9, and, his goals against average is, almost 3. So, I mean, I think that obviously there's, you need to be so lights out to be a rookie. You're a goaltender. You need to be Eddie Belfour.
And judging a goalie on wins is not really a credible way of
No, but what I guess it's just that when you decide to pick and choose certain statistics to make this thing, as a Minnesota Wild have done, they're really missing the boat. I mean, if plus minus is so important, Connor Zary for the Calgary Flames has actually had a very good rookie season. He's a center. Yeah. And he's got 30 points, 12 goals, 18 assists, pretty stint. And he's plus 16 on a team that is really struggling.
Yeah.
And that's pretty darn good. You never hear his name in anything.
No.
That is how little plus minus matters, folks. It just doesn't matter.
And the Michael Russo or Mike Russo, whatever he goes by, actually in the Russo Lazarus debate on the Calder trophy, he actually says plus minus is an archaic stat. Like in the first line of his, and they have fun with it. They're going back and forth with each other. And Russo at the end says he honestly doesn't know who he's voting for. So
yeah,
sure.
I don't. Would you give the rookie of the year to someone who finishes 10th in scoring? Then stop with the plus minus when Brock Faber is 10th in plus minus amongst rookies right now. Stop it.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. Is there any sort of argument whatsoever for Luke Hughes? I think he might pass Faber in the voting, and we talked about that briefly. I mean, right now he's coming on strong, and the Devils are all of a sudden flying. Is there going to be an argument for him if the Devils get in and he goes on a little tear here?
Well, I think there is, because one of the arguments for Brock Faber is that he's played meaningful games, and Connor Bedard hasn't played in a meaningful game all season. Luke
Right.
Hughes is playing in meaningful games right now.
Right.
Luke Hughes is helping propel his team to the playoffs. A team that struggled at times this year and it hasn't found its footing, and he's one of the stars on that team. Brock Faber is not a star on the Minnesota Wild.
No.
I'm sorry. It's not like you're not after this season. Most people outside of the Central Division is not going to know who Brock Faber is.
Yeah. I just this disgruntled fan base is trying to discredit other players to try to make their guys look good is really weird to me. I don't know. Like people
Well,
trying to-
you know how Minnesota is so jealous of the success that the Blackhawks had and with winning the 3 cups. They're so jealous, and now the fact that they were able to get Connor Bedard last year, like they're just jealous. It's just pure jealousy.
Yeah, I mean, look at Toronto fans on Zach Hyman, getting 50 goals, and he's not that good. This is BS. It's fabricated. It's nonsense. Well, congratulations, Toronto. Actually, you're making yourself look even better, Toronto fans. If anyone doesn't understand net front presence, it's certainly you guys in your organization.
Yeah, he had 35 goals. 35 of his goals are from right in front of the net.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
Right. On a team of perimeter danglers who don't respect that part of his game. Good luck, guys. So, anyway.
It's just Brock Faber and Connor Bedard, Luke Hughes. They're all good players. They're all in a different year. It would probably Hughes would win and Faber would be close. But Connor Bedard's an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like he's lived up. He's been the chosen one since he was 15 years old, and all he's done is lived up to the hype. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. And what was that tweet, Eric, that came through today?
Yeah, so I think it was during last night's game. Somebody was tweeting out, kind of making fun of Wild fans for saying, "Oh, Bedard never plays defense," blah 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 blah. And then this person pointed out that Bedard has 43 takeaways this year, and how many does Brock Faber have? 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that. And then on the flip side of that, let's also look at the giveaways. As far as giveaways, Bedard is pretty much like an even level there. I don't know the exact number, but he's right around the same for giveaways and takeaways, whereas Brock Faber has almost 3 times the amount of giveaways as he does takeaways. So I don't know. To me, that doesn't sound all that great of defensive play, but
right.
You know what this all means? Block shots is going to be their next one.
Yeah.
How many block shots does Connor Bedard have? Not enough.
Okay,
not
yeah.
Important.
Chris Russell had a bunch of block shots too. Or were we going to give him any defensive award? The guy was a bum.
Yeah, so I don't know and we've said this before, and Sean, you just mentioned it. Brock Faber's a hell of a hockey player. I mean, he's awesome.
He is.
Like, he is a hell of a player.
So screw Minnesota fans for making us have to try to cut him down.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And Brennan, 40 points as a freshman D-man is impressive. Absolutely. 100%. He has had an awesome season.
Yeah.
But what's even cooler than that? Possibly 70 points as an 18
point per game player at 18 years old.
As a high school.
Yeah, the 14th youngest player ever to step on an NHL ice.
Yeah. So again, this isn't a Brock Faber bash. Like, that's not what we're doing. It's just that when people want to highlight their guy and they try to discredit Connor Bedard, it's silly. I don't know. We've been doing this for weeks now.
It's become comical.
And we're going to keep doing it all the way into June.
It's just become comical now at this point. It's just funny.
But I'm going to wear a Minnesota North Stars hat on the day after Brock Faber doesn't win the Calder.
Yeah.
My hat a day. And I will post it on my Twitter.
Hey, Brennan, hashtag Bull Byron.
Yeah, and the Makar Brennan, what Brennan's referring to, there have been a lot of Makar comparisons with Brock Faber.
No.
There were those suggesting, including Minnesota writers, that his next contract is going to be 9-year term. This is getting
$9 million plus.
This is getting excessive. I mean,
it'll be fine.
If I'm Avs fans, I'm pissed if you're comparing Brock Faber to Cale Makar, because it's just not there. I mean, Cale Makar is what Cale Makar is. Like, he's like
all credibility.
Yeah.
In any hockey circle, if you make that comparison.
So
I don't even. That's not even. That's really bad. I mean, that's like Kako has been caca bad. I mean,
Erroneous on both counts.
Exactly. So the other thing, a couple other things to touch base on here. Let's talk about the Blackhawks and what they've been up to lately. As far as their play, they've actually been winning a few games. They pulled out a game in San Jose where not everyone, most people went to bed when it was 4-0. I did when San Jose was up, and then they come back, they win 5-4 in overtime. Had a really good game against Calgary Flames last night. That was actually, that was one of their more complete games of the season. But so all signs right now, and Eric, you've been doing the math pretty well as far as what this all means and where this is going. I mean, all signs right now are that the Hawks are headed to second to last in the NHL. Which unfortunately will not give them a guaranteed top 3 pick and will not give them the best overall chances at landing the number 1 overall pick, that being Macklin Celebrini. Eric, are you concerned about this at all? Or are you of the fabric of, well, as long as they still land somewhere in the top 5, they're going to get a pretty good pick, and let's just move on?
I mean, yes and no. I don't think this year was ever fixated about getting that first overall pick. I mean, it obviously would be a big bonus for sure. But as we've talked about on the show multiple times, there are a few other very intriguing players at the top of the draft that would provide a lot to this team. So, I think right now it definitely seems, barring anything unforeseen, that they will finish second last. They're pretty much sandwiched right in the middle of San Jose and Anaheim.
Yep.
They're 5 points and 7 points on either side of them. So the likelihood of those bottom 3 teams changing at this point is probably not very likely. So yeah, I think it's safe to say the Hawks will be second to last, but I mean, like we saw last season, they finished third to last and ended up moving up to number 1. So crazier things have happened, but by finishing second last, you're guaranteed a top 4 pick.
Right.
And I don't think you can be too upset about that.
No, that's good stuff. And Gate, with everything this is not as rich of a draft class. But we've talked about some candidates. Gate, what do you think right now? Other than if you get one, you get Macklin Celebrini, go.
Yeah.
But we've talked about some of the big needs. What do you see as some of the big needs? We've talked right-handed D. Would you like to see them take a defenseman or just kind of the next best player?
I mean, when you're this high, you're going to take the best player, best player available. It's not like they have glaring needs everywhere. So wherever whatever they pick, is going to help them out. It's going to be, probably part of that next generation of great Blackhawks players. So, if they get another defenseman to go with Korchinski and Vlasic, I mean, that's a pretty good start to eventually a good defensive core.
Right.
Not to mention, there's a couple other guys and, there's Nolan Allen and Ethan Del Mastro.
Yep.
Like those guys seem to be like, they might be something. So that's like 5 that, if they pick a defenseman, that's like a defensive core in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
That you can really count on. And then, if it's a forward, sure. Yeah. You're going to need more forwards. There's guys coming. There's Landon Slaggert coming. There's, Oliver Moore, there's Frank Nazar. There's a bunch of guys coming.
Nick Lardis, Paul Ladinsky.
Yeah. I think that, I think the one thing that
guys, but
outside Sam Renzel, University of Minnesota, he's probably their best really young right-handed defensive prospect, but they really don't have a lot of right-handed defensemen. In the system, we've talked Artem Levshinov. We all love him. That would be a home run if they could get him.
That'd be pretty good. I'd like to see that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
the other thing is that they might not have yet that firm number 2 center prospect. So, I mean, if that is a Caden Lindstrom or the next best center that's within the top 5, that's 5 too. Because it sounds like Oliver Moore, that he's a speedster, but I still think he might be that third line shutdown, kind of still could chip in somewhere between 15 and 20 goals and kill a ton of penalties and just be a weapon. But I don't know if he's that, that clear cut, number 2 pivot. So it'd be good to have one of those too. So
Yeah, I mean, you've got some people to choose from. That's the good thing, and it's a lot easier to find a number 2 center on the free agent market than it is to find a number 1 center on the free agent market. So,
those
like,
don't grow on trees. That's for sure.
you know, if you're going to have to go out there in 3 years and buy yourself a number 2 center, so be it. You know, I would rather have that than them trying to fill some huge hole at the top of their lineup that's going to be facing, you know, the other team's best players every single night. Like, I'd rather that those guys are homegrown. You've hung on to them. You have them cost controlled, and you know you could bring them through the system. They could grow through the system, and they you know, there's no reason why they shouldn't want to hang around.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're going to be following the NCAA tournament, which starts up this weekend, Blackhawks to watch: University of Minnesota, Sam Rinzel and Oliver Moore, both freshmen. Don't expect them anytime soon. The two of them are going to return to the University of Minnesota. If you're going to be watching Michigan State, the guy we're talking about, Artem Levshinov, might be the number 2 overall pick. And hopefully if he's number 2 overall, that's the Blackhawks pick. If not, he will go in the top 5. Keep an eye on him. The other 2 that you want to keep an eye out on are University of Michigan, Frankie Nazar or Nazar. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. My bad. If Michigan loses early, do the Hawks flirt with signing him? The other one is Ryan Green from Boston University, a center. I don't think he's the number 2 pivot of the future, but might be a 3rd or 4th line center at best. But if Boston University loses early, that whole team is going to be disbanding. Does he sign? Those are the 2 that might sign, and none of them could sign either. So am I missing anyone in the NCAA tournament prospect pool, fellas?
I don't think
Bueller, anyone? Bueller?
I don't think so. I don't think there's anybody else. And I just wanted to pivot to what you said about guys not signing. I know Eric and I kind of had a debate with somebody on Twitter about how I know about how that Davidson's drafts have been failures because only like 3 guys have signed.
Oh, come on.
I know. Well, I mean, people don't understand that the
He just got the job.
That is some idiotic stuff, man. People say stuff like this, seriously say stuff like this, and they just show how little they really know.
They don't understand that you could draft guys at 18. Like, they compare it to the NFL draft, which
is not how it works.
I'm sorry, guys in the NFL come out after 21. Yep. They played in like a professional system, essentially in college, for 3 seasons before they come to the draft. So just pointing it out there that
teenagers in the NHL.
If Nazar, if Sam and Rinzel all go back to college, it's not a bad thing.
And they probably are. I think Green might be the guy that they sign and they throw in the AHL because that whole BU team is breaking up and maybe he needs a full AHL season. But
that's fine.
That's fine. Great. Yeah. Great. Get him in the system. Get going. I think
he might even play in Indy. You know, you never know.
Yeah. I bet Nazar goes back. I bet he goes back for one more season because he was injured all last year.
Yeah, he played like 11 games last year.
Yeah,
he should go back.
And there's no reason for him. I don't want to hear any of this. He's got nothing left to prove crap. I'm so tired of hearing that term. He does have stuff left to prove. Like, he went to college for a reason to play, not just, you know, he could have tried to jump, you know, go to junior and jumped right to the NHL if that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to go to college and he missed a whole year because he was injured. He's got stuff he wants to prove at college.
Yeah. And if Levshinov ends up being a Blackhawk draft pick, folks, he's going back to Michigan State next year. He will go back for his sophomore year, similarly to how Owen Power did at Michigan after being
the top 4 guys in that draft went back to college. Like Owen Power went back.
They all went back. Yeah,
they all went back for their second year, and that's not a bad. I'm struggling with people saying that, like, oh, well, like Frank Nazar is going to be in the top line with Connor Bedard. No, he's not. No. Historically, if you look at, I looked it up. I did the research. The last 10 years, the 13th overall pick, if you were a wing, you played 60 to 70 AHL games before you became an NHL regular.
Well, look at Will Smith right now. Will Smith, 4th overall to San Jose. He's just tearing up NCAA hockey. I mean, he might win the Hobie Baker ahead of Celebrini, and then San Jose might get Celebrini, and he and Will Smith will go at the same time, like a Kane and Taves duo, which is scary. So
it'd be good for San Jose, but not us. But yeah,
not us. But
you
not us.
The understanding that guys are going to get drafted like after pick 5, most guys don't go to the NHL right away. They
Yeah.
go back to college, they go back to juniors, or they play with the European team for another season at least.
Right.
And people need to start comprehending that as draft picks start piling up, because the Hawks have a ton of draft picks coming up, and everyone's like, well, why are these guys signed? You have to understand there's a process to everything.
Everyone is so damn impatient. They want everything to happen right now,
It is.
and it's not going to.
Yeah. Eric, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say one person that Sean and I were kindly interacting with. They were bringing up that point of, if they're picking second, third, fourth, is this guy going to be on the team next year? And realistically, the only player in this draft that will play in the NHL next year is Celebrini. Nobody else is ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like he's probably kind of in that same Bedard.
He's still a
Younger than
freshman.
Bedard.
Like,
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of that same stage of development where skill, talent wise, he's absolutely right, NHL ready. Physically, probably not so much, but same thing with Bedard. But he could handle it. But yeah, just as far as anybody else, I mean, even guys like Levshinov, not ready. Caden Lidstrom, not ready. Like none of those guys are going to play in the NHL next year and maybe even 2 years. So
and last year's draft was different. It just was different.
Yes.
I mean,
Right.
the top 3 picks that are all playing right now.
and Celebrini is not to the level of Connor Bedard. So
No.
if whoever picks him, do not expect him to step into the NHL and do what a point per game like Connor Bedard was doing.
No,
and,
I mean
and will do.
Yeah, I mean he's going to be good. He's definitely.
Yeah. But don't expect him to get what probably would be close to point per game.
No, I don't think he'll have a
70-point
season.
No.
Even if he does play a full year.
I mean, we didn't even think Connor Bedard was going to do that. I was saying like 65, 60 points, maybe if he played a full season.
That was the big bet. That was the big line on Bedard going into the season was 70 points, and now he might get it without playing 15 games, which is, man. I mean,
but what's his plus minus?
Yeah, and like scoring that
For
many
what?
points.
Well, speaking of pivots, Blackhawks have a pretty good pivot, pretty good center who's had a pretty decent season. That's J-Dog. Jason Dickinson had 2 G's last night. Is that
I thought you were going to say J Dick.
Well, we don't want to do a jersey swap and get suspended by the NBA, okay?
No, you did that. You said that. I didn't. Anyway, Jason Dickinson, he is having a hell of a year. I mean, give it to him. So he just signed an extension. I think it was at 4.5 per over 3 years. Is that right? I don't know. I
think everybody got 2 years.
2 years.
Polino, him, and Mrazek all got 2 years.
Even better. So that gives. I mean, Dickinson he's got a 20-goal season. Look at this. He's got the same plus minus as Brock Faber, ladies and gentlemen. He is +5. So he should get a 9-year extension.
Give him the Selke.
Yeah, he should get the Selke. He should get Norris.
Okay, Tab.
Well, so that's where I'm going. Is Tab Branford, long Blackhawk fan, has produced some great work. Thrown out a tweet the other day suggesting that Jason Dickinson is a realistic Selke finalist candidate. No,
let's play Minnesota. He should be considered.
No, I mean, no. It's a very nice way of saying, hey, he's had a great year. And he has been great. Like
30-something points, 21 goals, career highs.
Who had Jason Dickinson scoring 20 goals this year?
Not me.
Not that many people. Some people had Taylor Radish.
That would be me. Yes. Yeah. Who can't score? Taylor Radish couldn't score in a brothel.
He hasn't scored in 49 games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really, So Taylor Radish, I don't know. He works hard. That's cool. But Jason Dickinson. So folks, the Selke Award can be very confusing. It's awarded to the best defensive forward. It should be rebranded as the best defensive center. It's been 21 years since anyone other than a center has won it, when Yuri Lehtinen won it in 2003. After that, somehow face-off percentage became like main criteria. Now, Jason Dickinson has a 50% face-off percentage, which is kind of like the minimum that you need to hit to almost be a Selke candidate or Selke finalist. But folks, I mean, and Tab, love you guy, but I mean, you actually, now the deal is you need to have a very good offensive season too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I don't even know who the Selke candidates are going to be this year. One, I'd throw out Sidney Crosby could be. He's been battling. He's still Sidney Crosby all these years later. But
this is like a participation trophy for him. Like, oh, you've been good defensively and offensively all these years, but we couldn't give it to you because Bergeron was around. So you probably deserved it 3 years ago, as Ryan Lambert likes to say. It's like 3 years past when you should really get it, and that's probably what it could end up being this year.
It could, yeah. And I don't. It's also like one of those. The MVP race right now is so tight with the scoring title with Kucherov, McDavid, and McKinnon. They might just give it to one of those guys. Be like, okay, you didn't get MVP, you didn't get the scoring title, but you were that good, so we'll just give you the Selke. I mean,
so does Crosby get the Mark Messier Leadership Award then because he didn't get the Selke or the Hart Trophy?
No, Nick Foligno gets that one.
They should just
Nick Foligno. Nick Foligno gets the Nick Foligno Award from Luke Richardson.
It is kind of a Jonathan Taves Award. It's like, God, you're so damn good, but you don't lead in any category necessarily. I mean, the year he won the Selke was the shortened NHL season where he had 48 points in 47 games. And a lot of people were saying this is the best player in the NHL right now. Give him the Selke. Just give him something. So I don't know. Thoughts on Jason Dickinson? Thoughts on the Selke? Anybody? I've been jabbering away here like crazy. I had some life saving before I came.
I don't think he's not gonna win the Selke. But I will say that him playing on that fourth line with Dickinson and Joey Anderson and Landon Slaggert has played really well. I think Slaggert has fit in well with those guys.
All right, let's go to Lando Commando. I mean, you got the jersey and everything here. Let's start pumping his tires. Let's make him the next coming. I mean, Easter's coming up, Notre Dame, let's go all in on
his tires. I'm not going to call him Brandon Hagel or anything, but he
kind of looks like
he comes as advertised. He's moving. He works well in the corners, and he's making the simple plays. And that's what he needs to do, and that's what works on the fourth line. And he's tried to add some offense. He had 2 near misses on goals last night. He had 2 assists. Like, fine. He's going to be fine in the role he's in. If you try to pump him up too much and put him in someplace else, he's going to fail. So you leave him the fourth line, maybe his peak ceiling is third line, and that's okay. And that's good for the Hawks.
Yeah.
So
that's right. I mean, best case scenario, Slaggert's a 10-year pro. It almost seems like 10-year NHL player, third, fourth line. I guess I also want to, like when we're talking about the Blackhawks and we're talking about when they eventually do need to hit that next level. There's some players that are very disposable in that sense.
Like most of them.
And I mean, of the forward group, I mean, Joey Anderson, he's
a 4A player.
Have a good one. I love Entwistle's energy. But I mean, if the team is trying to get better next year, I don't see him.
Something I noticed about Entwistle was when I was looking through defensive stats and things like that, when I was comparing the Faber and basically, Mackenzie Entwistle is the worst defensive player in the entire NHL.
Really?
Comparatively, yeah. He's pretty much at the bottom.
What about
all
Bedard?
The players? Bedard's he's like, I don't know. He's not the worst. Let's put it that way. Entwistle was though.
Yeah. Have any of you guys thought about next season and are there any UFAs out there that are worth salt in pursuing and?
No, when the best UFA is going to be Jake Gensel. I mean, he's a fine player, but and then it goes downhill from there.
Yeah, I think if they're going to acquire anyone to help the NHL team next year, it's going to be via trade. They have so many assets in terms of draft picks, and they're going to need to augment the offense with somebody to play with Connor Bedard. They're not going to be able to make all the picks that they have. So they're gonna find a buy like an Anthony Beauvillier or somebody like that, where they're gonna acquire somebody for a lower pick, and try to add them to the team. Like that's what they're gonna. That's at least my thought process. And because the free agent market is so bleak, and Davidson doesn't want to lock up. If you want somebody to come to the Blackhawks right now as a free agent, you're gonna have to overpay long term, and he doesn't want to do that based on the deals he had people sign.
Yeah, I mean, I think I put it when I wrote that article about how Davidson's not Davidson.
Yeah.
Kyle from Chicago, how his work has only just begun. He's got stuff, he's gonna have to shift gears from just breaking down and drafting to now developing and then eventually signing new players. I said that, if you're gonna do something, try for an RFA, a younger player, someone who fits more of the timeline. Most of the UFAs, they're probably right in the prime of their career. Or you get someone like Sam Reinhart, who's going to be way off the charts.
Yeah,
scored 50 goals this year, but he's never going to do it again. But he's earned that money, and so you don't want to pay for him because that's going to end up being a bust. Most of those UFAs, I mean, if you look at it out there, you're probably at about 75% that any big UFA you sign is going to be somewhat of a disappointment, and probably you're going to be looking to get out of their contract within 2-3 years. That's just how it goes. So, like, do you really want that? In 2-3 years, you're getting your cap mucked up by some guy who had a career year this year and was never able to reproduce it here with the Blackhawks, and now he's taken up $8 million in your cap for the next after 2 years, 5 more years. Do you want that? Do you really want that? Because it's not going to help you win games.
I mean, they need to hit the cap floor, but I mean, and they might be getting close to that with some of their contracts. But do you let Tyler Johnson walk out the door? Yeah,
sure. Yes.
I mean, he's obviously not going to command $5 million a year again.
No, I mean, but he's not good either. I mean,
no,
you're playing him up there with Bedard, and he's just hanging in there. Like, you took him as a cap dump. Let him go.
Right.
If he doesn't find anything anywhere else, wants to come back on a dirt cheap deal, that's fine.
He wasn't a cap dump though. That was like Bowman was he acquired him, Seth Jones, and
Fleury.
Fleury that season.
That was a cap dump.
He wasn't a cap dump. They were trying to win.
That was a cap dump in Tampa. They were trying to get rid of him to clear up cap space.
Tampa was trying to get, but
yes,
Bowman
it was a cap dump.
Him. Yeah.
I mean,
it was a cap dump in Tampa. That's why they picked him up. They probably wouldn't have gone out and picked him up if it wasn't for the fact that, Tampa was desperate to get him out of there because they needed to clear up cap space.
UFA forwards in the summer, Johnson, you let walk. Colin Blackwell, you could bring him back. I mean, he's not going to be expensive. I mean, but he's very rarely healthy. When he is, he plays like a dog. He plays hard. But then the RFA situation, you're kind of like, you've got the rights to these guys, and some of them, I don't even know if you want the rights to them anymore. I mean, you got Taylor Radish, Joey Anderson, Reese Johnson, Entwistle, all guys who aren't going to survive the rebuild when the Hawks are eventually competitive. And then Lucas Reichel as an RFA, and that's another really weird situation. I mean, he certainly hasn't earned a raise.
No, I think you qualify him, or you pay him whatever the minimum is to keep him around. And
I mean, you could probably bridge him for the $925K AAV for another 2 years.
Oh yeah, you're going to definitely do that.
You don't.
If you're Kyle Davidson, you're licking your lips right now because he's having a bad year, so he can't command a lot of money,
right?
And no one else is going to want him. So you're right in prime position to just give him some kind of bridge deal, some kind of small bridge deal to get him through to free agency. And then sure, yeah, if you want to hang on to him, see what he does for a couple of years. If he doesn't do anything, then just launch him into the sun when he becomes a UFA.
Yeah, and then you've got UFAs on the D end. You've got Magna, bye.
Go away.
Jared Tenorti, bye. And then Zaitsev, who makes a pretty penny, goodbye. So, I mean, you almost have $10 million coming off the books with Zaitsev and Tyler Johnson. So So they have opportunities to get creative here.
Well, they have to spend money too.
Well, they have
to hit the floor,
and you have to get better. You can't ask Bedard to play with junk every year.
Oh no, you definitely do want to get better.
Yeah,
but you don't want to you also don't want to strap a bowling ball to your leg and have that be dragging that around for the next 7 years either.
Right.
So you got to be like we said, you got to be smart about it. If you look at the UFAs that are going to be out there this summer. Sam Reinhart, Steven Stamkos, Jake Gensel, Jonathan Marchessault. I've seen Jonathan Marchessault's name tossed around with Blackhawks fans. He's 33 years old. Do you want a 33-year-old guy who's he's scoring at a pretty decent rate? What is he, 62 points? That's pretty good. Yeah. So what? Do you want a 33-year-old guy who's looking for a 5-year deal or something like that? No, you don't want that.
No, you got that guy coming back, Taylor Hall. So
yeah, Matt Duchene, Joe Pavelski, Sean Monahan, Tyler Toffoli, Teuvo Teravainen.
I'd be curious about that, but I'm not big on reclamation projects in general, and not that he's
I mean, he's a good player, but he's 29 years old. He's going to be 30.
Right.
Like, I know that's hard to believe because it's hard for me to believe, but yeah, he's 29 years old. Like, do you want guys in your 30s? You need guys in your 30s right now? No, you want guys like, I know it's might cost a little bit more, but you have that to spend. You have the draft capital, you have draft picks, you have things you can trade away to soften the blow and go out there and try and get an RFA. I'm all for, in this case, getting RFAs. You want young, good players, maybe in the prime or just reaching their prime they can go with Bedard and that'll help. But
so Davidson's got to be hitting the phone and going after cash-strapped teams that can't either re-sign their RFAs or can't hold on to, like, somebody's going to be squeezed out of their lineup that's going to carry a cap hit, but it's not significant in terms of years.
Yeah. Okay, who's got cap trouble right now? Just name off some teams and see if there's any RFAs out there.
Let's see.
How about the Avalanche?
Yeah,
I don't know what their cap situation is, but they got Casey Middlestat, who I like. I like Casey Middlestat. He's 25 years old. Like, if you could pull like a Casey Middlestat into here, okay, I'm listening. He's not going to light the world on fire, but he could be a decent number 2 center.
He'll help.
Maybe number 3 in an ideal world, but you could be a decent number 2 center.
Like that. Well, and the other thing that Davidson does have is draft capital. So I mean, if push comes to shove, if you could find a young enough ad who is ultimately going to be better than anything that you can find in the second or third round, you got to use some of those chips to make a move.
Yeah, so, he has 8 second-round picks in the next 3 years. He has 3 this year, 2 next year, 3 in 2026. So he has capital to move in that regard.
Yeah. So if, like you were saying, Gate, if you find the cap strap teams, that would be, that would need the draft capital. That would need some draft. I mean, like the New York Rangers seem like a team that might be in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, or someone that you can outbid. Some teams, they're just not going to bid these players so much. And if you look like Lucas Raymond, Seth Jarvis, Casey Middlestat, Quentin Byfield, Martin Netchis. Netchis is an interesting one.
Netchis is awesome. I'm a big
Aronic. And then it drops off dramatically with like Thomas Harley, Eli Tolvanen, Moritz Seider's in there, but they're not going to let him go.
No, that's not happening.
Sean Dursey in Arizona, Kirill Marchenko. That's an interesting one. Marchenko.
Maybe even like, I know we're proposing trades for RFAs, but be bold. Sign somebody to an offer sheet. When's the last time somebody signed an offer sheet in the NHL?
Was that Doug Wilson with Hjalmarsson, and then they had to trade Andrew Ladd?
No, that was Carolina with Montreal. Kakianemi.
Gotcha.
I sound like Sean today, tripping over my tongue.
No, but you remember when that happened? It was right after the Hawks won the cup, and
it was a 1-year deal with Kakianemi.
But it was when
San Jose did sign Hjalmarsson, and then they had to let Niemi walk.
Yeah, and then they had to trade Ladd too, which they didn't want to do, to make sure that they could bring Hjalmarsson back.
Yeah. But I mean,
Bufflin
be bold.
Buff.
Yeah.
Yep. But you remember
offer sheet.
But I think even though we were kind of ripping on him, we were ripping on it all year. But New York Rangers are going to have a tough situation with Kakko, because they're probably going to want to prioritize Braden Schneider ahead of that. They're not going to want to pay Kakko, and they might be willing to trade his rights as an RFA. So, especially if they bow out early. Now, I'm not thrilled about Kakko. He's kind of meh, but
he's real.
But he's played a lot on good teams. I certainly think he could help. So, I don't know. It's going to be a very creative summer for Kyle, and he's got the opportunity to have a lot of fun with it. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's done so well. Like, take a couple swings, get up to the plate and take a couple cuts, swing for the fences maybe once or twice, and maybe you can get something, if it fits the situation. I'm not totally against taking a swing at something, but some guy in his 30s. No, thank
No.
you.
You already have those guys. You already
Yeah.
have Dickinson, Foligno, and you don't need more guys like that.
30s are when guys are on their decline. You don't want to be signing guys on their decline to big deals that are going to be long term. It's
Yeah.
just
Right.
it will almost always be a disaster.
So yeah, take some swings, trade some picks, do all that stuff. I mean, he's got the ammunition, he's got the cap space. He can get creative and still not leverage the future because he's got to balance it out. He's got to make the team better in the present, but then not leverage your future where you can't make the team better when you're ready to win.
Good stuff. Any final thoughts tonight, gents? As we talk about our Blackhawks are coming down to their final games of the season. I guess the only thing really to watch is Connor Bedard. I don't really know if there's anything else.
And Alex Vlasic.
And Vlasic.
Yeah, he's
Those
been
are the
Vlasic,
two
that's
bright
the
spots
other
this
thing.
year.
In RFA that this summer, who actually they might pay. They might actually pay up now. Well, Eric,
They should.
Yeah, Eric, you've mentioned that before, that you'd really like to see them just do it and just say, hey, here's how we do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think given that the expectations for him entering this season were pretty low, and then seeing what he's done, and it's been consistent all year, and he's had such extreme usage, like we mentioned earlier. I mean, I believe that the number was he has the 5th hardest workload out of any defenseman in the league.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's been as effective as he's been, I don't know what more you could really want to see other than just saying, well, do it for another year first. You know, I mean, if he's done it and sustained it the entire season, I don't see that changing.
No.
You know, so I don't know. I mean, if you could get him, you know, for those 7 or 8 years at a reasonable number, I would definitely consider it. Now, if he wants to go like 8 years at like $7 million or something, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
No.
Then I might go bridge. But if you could get him for, you know, like 8 years at like $5 million or something,
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be awesome.
Well, if
And
you're Vlasic, why would you ever walk away from that?
It's his
guaranteed
hometown,
money.
yeah.
8-year term? Wow. Yeah, that'd be
Guaranteed money.
And I'm told this is a worthy stat for defensemen. Alex Vlasic leads all Blackhawks players in time on ice with 1142 5-on-5. So he's been on the ice more than any Blackhawk this year at 5-on-5.
I bet if I I mean, I'm fine with that, Eric, for sure. I bet you could do 5 for 5 and just kind of go, okay, here's where we are right now. But then the problem is he might be due for a big raise next time around, right when you need to. So there's obviously some financial forecasting that needs to take place. But yeah, Vlasic is the one RFA. You may as well just pay him right now. Just do it.
I would say you know, you have to be careful with those long-term deals. But if I think it's reasonable to say that they should be confident that he's going to be a big piece moving forward. You know, it's not like he's going to long-term be like a number 4 guy.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's established that he's a real piece. I mean, he's this era's Hjalmarsson type of guy as far as
I think he's a real good 3. I think he's a really good 3.
Yeah.
Like right in the middle, that shutdown pair. I think
on a cup team, that's probably what he is. So yeah, I think, you know, it would be reasonable to say this guy is going to be a very important piece moving forward. So let's do it.
Yeah, let's invest. Yeah.
And it's not often they get defensemen come through the system like this. The last one was Nicholas
Hjalmarsson. Yep.
So like, you know, you get this, like you got to hang on to it. And they hung on to Hjalmarsson really well at the time. And I think this is just like history repeating itself a lot with the, you know, the draft, the way the draft went. They're going to, you know, 1st overall and then probably 2nd or 3rd overall. And then, you know, them having some young players in the system already, like, you know, the Bufflins and the Crawfords and all that stuff that were in the system. You know, this is a lot like history repeating itself 10 years ago or whatever it was. It was 20 years ago almost.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good call on that. All right, fellas. Well, good stuff tonight. Any shout outs to anybody, Shawnee?
Shout out to Josh Doan scoring his first goal
Yeah,
for the
that's pretty
Arizona
cool.
Coyotes.
Chicago
That's
Steel native.
Yeah,
Wow,
full
that's really
circle.
cool.
Full circle there. And
Yeah.
Buchagras tweeted, I think Arizona is progressing on their negotiations for the new
Oh,
stadium. Yeah. So
I thought he cut off there for a second.
The hill that Bettman will die on.
yep.
Whatever.
I don't know if you guys seen the what do they call them? The photo, whatever the perspective photo is called, the mock-up. It looks actually really cool. I just don't know if they'd ever fill it, but it looks really cool. So.
Yeah. I want to give a brief shout out to, and it's not really a shout out. It's kind of like a shout at you to the NCAA for putting the first round games in a 2,500 person arena in St. Louis, Missouri, when they've got
Cool.
Michigan State, North Dakota, Michigan, and I forgot who the third team is in there, but people that like North Dakota draws 12,000 fans a game.
Yep.
And they're playing their first round NCAA game in a 2,500 person arena, and now tickets on StubHub are going for like $1,000. That's just so stupid.
They should really go for a big venue like Arizona State.
Yeah, there you go.
I was going to say that's like an NHL team playing in a college arena.
It worked for Bettman. I mean, it's a big deal here. But that is just so pitiful that that's what you're doing. There's no excuse for that. Someone at the NCAA, I'm hoping, got sacked over that because that's just pathetic. So NCAA, shame on you when you've got teams of that caliber with that kind of those kind of fan bases. Time for Soup is all about Michigan State. Good luck, buddy.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. So anyway, any other shout outs? Any other things you guys got?
Want to give a
BC's
shout out.
winning this all.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying BC's going to win it all. So
Yeah, I think they will.
Good call.
Yeah.
Give a big shout out to our guy Aaron Goldschmidt, who just popped into the comments.
Hi, Aaron.
I miss Aaron.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows I love my guy Aaron.
Aaron replied to one of my tweets the other day. It was weird. I
It
heard.
was just his birthday recently, so happy
my
belated
brother from
birthday,
another
Aaron.
mother, Aaron
Thank you.
Goldschmidt.
No,
Sean
I'm not.
Goldstein
I'm not
says
positive at all, Aaron, that Michigan's going to beat North Dakota. In fact, they probably won't. But those are my picks. So
That's hashtag the Rink legend, Aaron Goldschmidt.
Aaron Goldschmidt
Great.
playing the piano. Love it. Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you those who listen. Paul, thanks for the shout out. Appreciate you always listening as well, Brennan, and everybody else who was able to jump on tonight to hear what we have to say about the Hacks and a few other things. So as March turns into April, the season is winding down. Go Bedard, go Hawks, kind of. Just make sure you finish second to last. And behalf of my guys, I'm Andy Campbell. On behalf of Jeff Osborn, Eric Andrews, and Sean Fitzgerald, have a good night, everybody.